The baby had been healthy that morning, laughing, cooing in the arms of palace nurses. The emperor's favorite concubine, Lady Wu, had just kissed her daughter's forehead before attending to her duties. But hours later, the air in the palace changed. A maid's scream echoed through the corridor. The baby, Wu's only daughter, was dead in her cradle. No illness, no warning, just gone. The emperor was devastated, but Lady Wu did not weep, not immediately. Her face was pale, still, her voice calm. "Find the Empress," she said. Then came the accusation that Empress Wang, her rival, had entered Wu's chambers in secret and strangled the child out of jealousy. The Empress would soon discover that she had messed with the wrong woman, in fact, one of the toughest women in all of history. This is the story of Wu Zetian, the woman who rose from the rank of concubine to become one of the most legendary rulers of China. Was she a villain, a visionary, or both? Welcome to History Snob. Wu Zetian was born in the year 624 AD during the Tang Dynasty, in a time when Chinese society strictly confined women to the private sphere. Her family name was Wu, and she was born into a well-off and relatively liberal household in Wenshui, Shanxi province. Her father, Wu Xiu, was a successful timber merchant who later earned noble status for his service to the Tang court. Unlike many girls of the era, Wu Zetian was afforded an education, an unusual privilege. Her father believed in the value of learning and allowed her to study history, politics, literature, and even calligraphy, all of which would serve her well in the imperial court. From a young age, Wu displayed sharp intelligence, ambition, and a commanding presence. She wasn't content with the limited roles available to women. She paid attention to politics and showed an early fascination with power. At the age of 14, she was selected to enter the palace of Emperor Taizong as a fifth-rank concubine, a position that might have doomed other women to a life of obscurity. At Emperor Taizong's court, Wu Zetian remained a relatively minor concubine, never rising above the fifth rank. She had little personal access to the emperor, but she served in the palace's administrative offices and gained valuable experience reading and handling imperial documents. She also observed the inner workings of court politics, learning the dynamics of influence, power, and manipulation, and the personalities who dominated them. Her early years at court were quiet but formative years spent in the shadow of greatness, preparing for the day she would cast her own. Some accounts even claim she developed a discreet rapport with one of Taizong's sons, Li Ji, who would later become Emperor Gaozong. When Emperor Taizong died in 649 AD, Wu, like all the concubines without children, was expected to retire to a Buddhist convent and live out her days in quiet seclusion. Most women would have faded from history at this point, but Wu was not most women. Within a year of her departure from court, the new Emperor Li Ji, now Emperor Gaozong, visited the convent and saw her again. The spark between them reignited, and soon, against all precedent, she was brought back to court. This was scandalous. No woman had ever returned from a convent to become a concubine again. The imperial court was outraged, but Wu's intelligence, political acumen, and charm won her a place not just in the emperor's heart, but at the center of power. She quickly rose through the ranks, surpassing other consorts and forming a powerful alliance with Emperor Gaozong himself. Her return marked a turning point, not just in her life, but in Chinese history. From here, Wu Zetian would begin her calculated ascent to become empress and eventually the sole ruler of China. From the moment she re-entered the palace, it was clear that Wu was no ordinary consort. She quickly distinguished herself with her strategic mind and emotional poise. Gaozong was deeply drawn to her. She was not only beautiful, but also intellectually stimulating, something few women in court life were encouraged to be. Wu understood the complex dynamics of palace life and soon outmaneuvered the other consorts, particularly Empress Wang, the first wife and official empress of Emperor Gaozong, who had helped bring Wu back but had badly underestimated her ambition. Wu's most infamous move during this period involved the mysterious death of her infant daughter. Remember the story we told in the beginning of the video? The emperor, grief-stricken and already more loyal to Wu than to his empress, believed Wu when she accused the empress of killing the child. Whether Wu orchestrated the death to frame her rival or truly lost a child to court intrigue remains unknown, but the result was decisive. Empress Wang and another rival, Consort Xiao, were stripped of their titles, imprisoned and later executed on Wu's orders after cruel humiliation. By 655 AD, Wu Zetian had achieved what no other concubine before her had. She was officially installed as Empress Consort of China, but even then she wasn't satisfied. As the emperor's health declined, she would increasingly take the reins of government herself, setting the stage for an even more audacious rise, to become the first and only female emperor in Chinese history. Emperor Gaozong died in 683 AD after years of deteriorating health, during which Wu Zetian had already been acting as the de facto ruler of China. She had sat beside him during audiences, signed imperial documents, and made key decisions in his name. Upon his death, their son Li Jie, also known as Emperor Zhongzhong, ascended the throne. However, Wu Zetian had no intention of giving up her grip on power. When the new emperor began showing signs of independence, attempting to appoint officials without her approval, Wu swiftly deposed him after just 6 weeks and replaced him with another son, the more pliable Li Dan, Emperor Rizong. In both cases, she retained the real authority as Empress Dowager and Regent, ruling from behind a screen during court sessions, in accordance with a custom that still tried to uphold the illusion of male leadership. But Wu soon grew tired of ruling from the shadows. In 690 AD, she took the unprecedented step of declaring herself Emperor of China, officially establishing the Zhou dynasty, interrupting the Tang dynasty for 15 years. This was an astonishing act in a society where women were considered subordinate to men in both family and governance. Yet Wu Zetian had laid the groundwork carefully, securing the loyalty of court officials using Buddhism to legitimize her rule and suppressing opposition with a vast network of spies and secret police. Wu was finally ready to rule in her own right, and here's where the question we posed in the opening comes into play. Was she a ruthless tyrant, or was she something more? As Emperor of China, Wu Zetian implemented a series of bold and progressive reforms that strengthened the empire and left a lasting legacy. One of her most significant achievements was the expansion and refinement of the imperial examination system, which allowed people to enter the government based on merit rather than noble birth. This helped reduce the influence of entrenched aristocratic families and open the doors of government service to talented men from humbler backgrounds, especially scholars. Wu also worked to centralize power, weakening powerful regional clans and consolidating authority under the imperial court. She restructured the bureaucracy to increase efficiency and appointed capable officials regardless of their social status, sometimes even promoting those from lower ranks, which won her loyalty among the commoners and working elite. Economically, Wu Zetian introduced policies to support agriculture and relieve tax burdens. She improved irrigation systems, promoted land redistribution, and encouraged agricultural productivity, which helped stabilize food supplies and support population growth. Her reign also saw increased attention to the rights and welfare of women. While she did not enact sweeping feminist reforms by modern standards, she set a powerful example simply by ascending to the throne and placing women in court positions of influence, including scholars, administrators, and even royal advisors. Culturally and religiously, Wu Zetian aligned herself with Buddhism, using its teachings to legitimize her rule in a male-dominated society. She commissioned the construction of grand Buddhist temples, sponsored religious texts, and promoted the idea of the female bodhisattva Maitreya, suggesting that a woman ruler was divinely ordained. This religious support, particularly among the masses and the clergy, further cemented her authority. Despite her harsh tactics, such as using secret police and purging political rivals, her reign was marked by relative stability, economic growth, and cultural flourishing. Wu Zetian's reign is as famous for its accomplishments as it is for controversies and ruthless tactics that marked her consolidation of power. And make no mistake, Wu definitely had a dark side. One of the most notorious aspects of her rule was her use of a vast network of secret police and informants who rooted out deserters, real or imagined, within the court and the wider government. These agents conducted surveillance, gathered intelligence, and often arrested or executed officials accused of treason or conspiracy. Historians report numerous purges where ministers, nobles, and even members of the imperial family were forced to take their own lives, imprisoned or brutally executed, often based on flimsy or no evidence. Like many absolute rulers, Wu definitely saw danger lurking in every shadow. Wu Zetian was also accused of orchestrating the downfall of her rivals with cunning and cruelty, most famously Empress Wang and consort Xiao, who were allegedly humiliated, imprisoned, and eventually executed after being accused of crimes such as witchcraft and murder. Such tactics were not unique to Wu. Emperors before her had used similar means, but because she was a woman wielding unprecedented power, these acts were often magnified and condemned more harshly. In addition to eliminating political threats, she is said to have manipulated court factions and encouraged infighting among officials to prevent any single group from becoming powerful enough to challenge her rule. Despite her ruthless reputation, Wu was also pragmatic. She was careful to maintain popular support through reforms, religious patronage, and public works, which helped stabilize the empire during her reign. Her blending of force and benevolence allowed her to maintain control over a vast and diverse empire for decades. Nevertheless, her methods have made her one of the most polarizing figures in Chinese history, a ruler whose ambition and iron will shattered centuries of tradition, but who paid the price of being remembered as both visionary and tyrant. Wu Zetian died in 705 AD at the age of 81 after ruling China, first as Empress Consort, then as Empress Dowager, and finally as Emperor for over half a century. In her final years, she grew increasingly isolated and surrounded by sycophants, particularly two young lovers known as the Zhang brothers, whose influence drew criticism from court officials. As her health declined, discontent among ministers and members of the imperial family grew. Eventually, a palace coup forced her to abdicate the throne in favor of her son, Li Xiang, the deposed Emperor Zhangzong, effectively restoring the Tang dynasty. Despite the forced abdication, Wu Zetian was not publicly humiliated or executed. Instead, she lived out her final days in relative peace within the palace, passing away quietly shortly thereafter. Her burial was as symbolic as her life had been unconventional. She was interred alongside her husband, Emperor Gaozong, in the mausoleum, but her tombstone was left completely blank, a striking decision. This uninscribed epitaph had puzzled historians and inspired centuries of speculation. Some believe it was her own command, a silent challenge to posterity to judge her deeds fairly. Others think it was an intentional erasure by her successors, an attempt to obscure the memory of a woman who had overturned the established order. Her reign also left a powerful cultural imprint, particularly through her patronage of Buddhism and the arts. In a society where women were expected to remain in the shadows, Wu Zetian ruled from the very center of power. Whether seen as a tyrant, a trailblazer, or both, her legacy is undeniable. She was the only woman to ever rule China in her own name, and she did so with unmatched authority. That's all for this video. What do you think of Wu Zetian? Do you think she was the ruthless villain everyone claimed she was? Or do you think she merely ruled as she saw fit? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to History Snob for more cool historical content. Thanks for watching.